The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I hope you can all hear me loud and clear. Thank you for attending today, and it's a pleasure to see so many faces coming on to this. It's a sort of for us obviously it's an interesting subject, but hopefully for you guys this following presentation will be something of note that you could use yourselves and maybe take back to your businesses and think about it, because I think there's a big opportunity here for collaboration. Just before we start, I just want a bit of housekeeping. Obviously everyone's on mute. We're going to have a Q&A at the end, hopefully. So feel free to put questions or any questions as we go forward into the presentation in the questions panel on your on your actual GoToWebinar panel, and then we'll obviously get to answers, hopefully quite a few at the end. Now, obviously, we've got a number of people on from different areas all over the US, Canada, South America. So, we'll be as, keep it as simple as possible. And obviously, I'd like to sort of first introduce myself as it says on the screen. I'm Adam Jull. I'm the CEO of IMS-CAD. We also have a very special guest who's going to help present this from Nvidia Grid, Richard Jackson, who's going to come in sort of 3 or 4 slides time to present their solution, because obviously they have a great virtual GPU solution, as I'm sure you're all aware. And then we're going to get into a little bit about the market itself as an overview, which obviously is dominated by Nvidia, of course, but there are other solutions out there that I will touch on. But the most important thing about today is really just presenting IMS-CAD to you guys as a support partner that can help you, with these kind of complex, certainly VDI-based graphical solutions that can be quite tricky to get right and get that real performance for the users. So that's where IMS-CAD will come in and work as your partner in that space. So without further ado, thanks again, and we're just going to crack on. I'm obviously going to tell you a little bit about us first. 6 years we've been doing this, and seems like longer actually, but nonetheless, we've been doing it a long time. We specifically, this is all we do, okay, IMS-CAD. So 100% of the time we just deal with graphical applications in virtual environments, both with Citrix and VMware, I have to say. And this is where we play, which is quite unique. I don't think I've seen any other companies sort of focus on this, I would say 100% of the time, and vice versa. People like yourselves out there who are Citrix partners, you're really good at Citrix, you're really capable of delivering, VDI, hundreds of users, different solutions, networking solutions, and actually, this part is quite a specialist piece, and this is where I sort of thought this is an opportunity for us at IMS-CAD to really kind of make our mark, and that's what we've been doing for the last 6 years. It's been a journey, of course. And the market has just got bigger and bigger as we've gone, and we're at this point now where it is really starting to take off, and I'm sure when Richard comes on from Nvidia, he'll explain a little bit about that as well. But we're actually based in the in the UK. So don't let that put you off, of course. We're very focused and very capable of dealing with US-based businesses and customers. We have 70% of our business out there, as it says, which is pretty significant, and I think it's just because it's the biggest market, and because we're quite unique in our services and what we offer. We've just been found and Googled and various other word-of-mouth referrals and everything else that happens. Especially in the early days of the company, that's what happened, and that kind of led on to a lot of deployments we've done. And obviously off the back of that, we have to have this sort of 24/7 operation, which is not uncommon for IT services companies that do global support. But the way we've really done it is, of course, is remote installation and optimization of environments for customers. So our real skill is around we don't always have to be on site, right? So you're the local guys, we want to work with you, you do the deals, we'll just help you with the specialist deployments of the graphical applications and the actual environment, and that's really where we're strong. And remote installation is absolutely doable, as we all know, and that's where we're strong. And when it gets down to sort of the application layer, which can scare quite a few Citrix partners, we've seen it before. You know, this is where we're strong as well. We really understand the apps, how to put it together in a virtual space, and you know, and this is the sort of, it's obviously specific to certain industries. We know that. I'll get on to a little bit more about that in the next slide. But effectively, you know, the actual specialization around the application mix, the user interaction, the user acceptance is key with this type of deployment. So that's where IMS can really kind of fill the gap for you. So, and obviously consulting is a big part of our business, and that is remote consulting, of course, via the phone, and general kind of support and scoping out environments for you and your customers. And of course, you know, we're not scared of getting on planes and coming to do jobs in the US, which we do all the time with various ISVs and OEMs. So, you know, it's kind of, we've got a full range of services, and that's what we do. So just a bit about our credentials, and apart from, you know, this is all we do 100% of the time, it's been, you know, quite a journey, as I said, over the 6 years, and we've built up quite a few grid deployments, as you can see there. And that's really our core business. We also work with 2 other main vendors, which I'll get onto later in the presentation. But you know, there are other graphical solutions out there, of course, virtual solutions. And you know, but Nvidia are serious, you know, the main protagonists in this space. And you know, they've got some fantastic products. But it tends to be not just about the graphics card. To make this work, this is an end-to-end infrastructure solution, as you all know when you do normal VDI deployments, let's say with Windows-based apps. So for us, obviously, it's all about that kind of end-to-end understanding the infrastructure required to get the best result, and that's where we're strong. So obviously, dealing with these companies that use these type of applications, so CAD in particular. Design applications right through different industries, you know, from manufacturing to aerospace to automotive. You know, these kind of guys, you know, they've got demanding applications, demanding you know, workflows, and actually the users in particular are very demanding, because they're the guys you have to really try and impress, because if they don't get it, if they don't understand it, and also you get the performance that they're used to on their workstations, it will not fly. And we've had this before. We've kind of learned the hard way on this, right? So this is one of the things that is key to any deployment. It's all about, as I said there, right through from not just the servers, the graphics card, the virtual layer. It's all about storage, network capacity, user acceptance, running a very good POC or proof of concept. You know, it's key. You know, seeing is believing, right? People need to see this. The users need to see this working before they're going to buy it. With their own data, you know, this is really important. You have to kind of replicate it, and obviously, you know, you can actually optimize a lot of the applications at the application layer, which is something that you guys are not going to be, you know, obviously, you know, skilled to do, let's say. But this is where we come in. So we just bring that extra layer of security and confidence into any deal. So just to give you a simple market overview, is really kind of very basic, of course, but just I don't want to confuse anybody. But you know, this is really simple. You know, Nvidia at the top, obviously, you know, with their solutions, and Rich is going to come on to that shortly. And their vGPU technology has really changed the game, right? So, you know, I remember, you know, before that vGPU technology came out, and Citrix were the first to, of course, you know, release it with Nvidia. You know, it was really, we used to do deals with ZenApp doing Quadro, so they had a range of products, Quadro graphics cards, where we would have remote solutions for architects running ZenApp on Quadro cards, which is a really good solution, you know, and for remote access, just working from home, right? So, you know, that's really what a lot of these customers are looking for. It's not about replacing their workstations necessarily. It's just about giving them mobility and giving them that choice of where they work and giving them that freedom. But the vGPU technology, without it, you know, we wouldn't be talking today. So it's been key. And you know, just to mention the 2 others that we're going to talk about a little bit later. Intel themselves have a graphical solution on their E3 Xeon processors. The latest generation is called Skylake, and you know, that's a really interesting fit. I mean, it certainly plays in the mid to lower end market of the graphics. Whereas, you know, someone like Nvidia will go across the whole range of, you know, of apps. So, you know, right up to the high end, really heavy graphical place, right down to the, you know, the Microsoft Office and PowerPoint type thing. So, and now of course AMD have their solution as well, and there's a virtual card, but it's obviously a hardware-based GPU. It doesn't have profiles and a kind of virtual layer. So that's an interesting one, but we'll get into that a bit later. Of course, our friends at Citrix have really been the sort of market leaders with HDX 3D Pro in particular. Great technology. And then, of course, more recently, in the last 2 years, we've had VMware come into this space with vGPU, with Nvidia, with Horizon View, so their VDI solution. And we're seeing quite a bit of traction for that as well. But Citrix themselves have kind of been there and done it a lot. And I would say we've probably done 80% on Citrix deployments, and that's just purely because they've been around longest. Tends to be more, in this space, and I think for you guys, obviously, that's good. People love the Zen Desktop product, of course. It's the main VDI product, and that's probably why. But there's no reason why you can't have a VMware hypervisor in a Zen Desktop environment delivering this as well. So, but VMware are strong, and they've got a very good solution. And we deploy quite a few VMware solutions, and it does work pretty well out of the box. So, with PC over IP as well, it really does deliver on the graphics. It's got a lot better from when it first launched, and I'd encourage you to look at both if your customers. I don't think we can really choose between them. It just depends on the sort of environment the customer has already, which tends to sort of lead them into which product to use. Of course, Microsoft are there as well with Hyper-V, and obviously they've got vGPU coming out soon with Nvidia, which is going to be exciting this sort of early next year. And I wanted to mention the cloud, and we all know about the cloud, of course, but with graphical apps in particular, there's a move to the cloud, of course, as we know. There's a big people want to really try it, see if they can get some benefit from it, of course. It's still quite expensive, I have to say, but Nvidia have a number of cloud providers there that offer the grid card solutions in their environment, and we've done a number of deployments for customers. And what they tend to do is they actually use it as a project-based type deployment that they can just spin up and spin down. So they may have 50 users in Singapore they want to run in a project, and rather than buying either 50 workstations or doing, they can just spin it up in the cloud with Nvidia and have a really good, solid performing solution. And for 3-6 months, and then take it down. So although you pay for the privilege, the flexibility is excellent. So it's really important to not forget the cloud and the options that are there. It doesn't have to always be an on-premise type solution. And just to mention down there at the bottom, AEC, of course, MSG. So effectively, that's architectural, engineering, and construction. Those markets, and then obviously manufacturing, automotive, aerospace. And I mentioned here the Windows 10 migration, and Richard might touch on this, but effectively, Windows 10 is very graphical. It's a graphical application, and the more people that move to Windows 10, which are many, of course, are going to need some sort of graphical delivery, so to improve the experience. Now, obviously, Nvidia have the M10 card, which is the lower-end GPU, which can service a lot more users on a server. Someone like Intel are the same, play in that area, AMD as well. But effectively, the Windows 10 migration is a really interesting sort of, this is the time to look at some GPU in your environment, Mr. Customer. So it's important to say that and be aware of it when you're talking to customers. So I just want to, this is really a quick, I don't have to preach to the converted here. I know you guys know all about these, the reasons for this, and and this is really just about the graphical virtualization piece. So you know about the piece, you guys sell Citrix, VMware, whatever it is. IP security, of course, is key, particularly with design data. You get a lot of now sensitive buildings being built. They want to keep it secure. We've probably won, I would say 50, 60 deals over the last 3 years, just purely on that one, centralized, none of the data is leased. Because, traditionally, these guys have been on workstations, distributed data everywhere, workstations dotted around different sites, data all over the place. And, of course, that isn't a great security way of, or a great secure way of running things. So, this is where this solution with virtualization has really, won a lot of business in this graphical space. So, it's not just about the apps so much, it's about the actual solution itself, just by default, is a winner. So, Yeah, I mean, we know about IT management, and of course, big data, graphics. Graphical users, let's say the applications that you use, tend to be many of them are CPU heavy, let's say. So they rely on the CPU speed more than the GPU. But if you move into sort of manufacturing, aerospace, automotive, oil and gas, the GPU becomes more and more important, right, in the environment. So it's really that mix of what can happen and how you put this together. And for me, I would say to you guys, graphics is a specialist space. As I said, we're not expecting you guys to be experts at this anytime soon, right? We've spent 6 years doing it, and it's been, you learn the hard way, right? But I can tell you now, our experience is available now to be shared to you. So, I would suggest that, with the cloud and with customers, what they're looking for now, because a workstation could be $5,000, $10,000. That's one user, and that can't be moved around, right? So, this is where this solution really wins. So, as I say, virtualization with graphics is certainly a big growth area. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to my good friend Richard at Nvidia, just to take you through a few slides, and I'll be back shortly. Richard, are you there?
Thanks, Adam. Yeah, I am. Can you hear me okay? Adam?
Loud and clear. Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, fantastic. Hi, everybody. So thank you. So nice opener. I think that leveled what we're doing around grid really well and virtualization. And I've been at Nvidia for 3.5 years now. And my background is at Citrix, so I understand virtualization pretty well. I was 12 years at Citrix. And when I joined the company, everyone was saying, why are you joining a gaming company? And why would I possibly need virtualization and graphics as a solution? Now, I think we've moved well on from that, and people really understand graphics. And grid now has got tremendous momentum in the market, which is fantastic. So if you just move on to the next slide, Adam, please. Okay, thank you. So we have different types of partners. Along the top, we have solution providers, which would be our typical sort of reseller. We have distributors. We have consulting type partners. CSPs. Adam mentioned CSPs. That's going to be a big growth area for us. We have service delivery partners, which is more around consulting and support. We have OEMs. Can you hear me okay? My line's crackling a little bit here.
Adam? I think you're okay, Richard, yeah.
It's going through it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then we have, and then on the right-hand side, it's more around our gaming business. So this is more the sort of the iCafe, the e-tailers, and so on. But the main business for today's conversation is really that sort of mid to left-hand side. And then underneath that, we have our competencies. So for the people on this call, it's more around graphics virtualization. So that's really where grid fits in. You can see gaming, again, on the right-hand side. And then a big future for us is actually around deep learning. So you'll hear a lot about Nvidia in the press at the moment around AI and deep learning, big growth area for us as well. But these are all areas that Nvidia are very big in. And then down the bottom, we have different types of levels of partners. So starting with community, anybody can join as a community partner. It's very easy. It just takes just a few minutes to get into the program. And once you're into the program, then you'll get invited to webinars, you get white papers, and all the latest updates will come through to you. Then moving up a level, we have preferred and elite. Preferred is where we're looking for about $100,000 per year as a sort of a revenue number. And elite is $1 million. So, it's pretty difficult to get into elite, but we have got the number of partners coming into that now. And with each level, you have different levels of incentives and rebates and marketing funds and so on. So the big change has been really a few years ago, our business was all through the OEMs. So, we have about an 85% market share in graphics for workstations, but not everybody realized we were buying Nvidia products because we were inside somebody else's solution. So the whole idea of the Nvidia Partner Network is that we want our own brand to be more front and center in the market. And also, we are today, we're about a $6 billion company in revenues, and we have very ambitious goals. For us to get to a 60 billion and beyond, we need to have our brand. People need to understand the power of a GPU and why it's so important in the market. So Grid is clearly a massive growth area for us, and so are our partners. This is going to be a big growth area for us. So if you could move to the next slide, Adam, please. So defining the use case, this is really important, and this is really where IMS CAD have had a big part to play. So on the left-hand side at the top, you'll see PCs and workstations. So these are the sort of the two market areas that we're going after with Grid. We started off on the workstation side. This is the real high-end, very graphical apps where you need a sort of mid to high-end workstation to run the apps. As I say, Nvidia have about an 85% market share there. So that was an easy starting point for us because a lot of those customers were already using our product, but they were tethered to the workstation. So a lot of things they couldn't do. And of course, Grid came along and allowed them to really use any device. This is the classic virtualization story. But I think one of the bigger opportunities is potentially around the PC market, because last numbers I heard, there's about 50 million virtualized licenses out there. And pretty soon, all those people are going to be migrating to Windows 10 if they haven't already. And you have to have some sort of graphics in Windows 10. It just really does not work properly without it. So we are anticipating a massive wave of opportunity coming along around Windows 10. So we've already secured the market. We have huge visibility now around what we've done on the workstation, the high-end graphic side. And now with the PC market in Windows 10, there's just a huge opportunity ahead. And Adam's already covered some of the reasons why. There's some of the challenges employees have. I can give you some great examples. One was a helicopter company, and the helicopter company was spending $20,000 per person per month on flying people. They were contractors, so they didn't want them to have any local data, and they would fly them into the central office where they could do their designing, and then fly them back again, and that was costing them $20,000 per person per month to get them there. So as soon as Grid came along and they were able to virtualize them, the contractors didn't need to leave their locations, and the ROI was less than 3 months, a very fast turnaround. So people are really getting it. We've got lots and lots of great use cases on the website. You'll find all those, and I'll show you where to go at the end for that. And then, of course, IT guys, they're having big challenges as well. I think with Windows 10, another example is going to be just support tickets. When those users start complaining about poor user experience, the data we have is that it costs at least $50 per ticket in terms of an internal cost just to deal with each call that comes in. So, again, these are soft costs, so I know it's a little bit harder to justify it sometimes, but the TCO is very compelling when the use case is presented well. And then, of course, down the bottom, applications are very important. So when I was at Citrix, we didn't really care about the application. It was more about just virtualizing the whole environment. And we were going after very specific markets. In graphics virtualization, the application is extremely important, because if the app doesn't work, then obviously the user experience is bad and the projects never fly. And also some of these applications are mission critical apps. That was a big difference I found as well coming from Citrix, is that using Office, obviously it is mission critical, but if you're a designer running something like Siemens NX and you can't access that application, then these people are paid hundreds of dollars an hour to design, and it really kills projects. So Grid comes along and it solves all that, and that's why we're getting such tremendous traction in the market right now. Next slide, please, Adam. Thank you. So we have 3 key products. We have across the top, you'll see the M10, the M6, and the M60. All designed slightly different for different applications or different use cases. The M10 is our newest product. We launched it probably about 3 or 4 months ago now. And this is really designed for user density. We can get 64 users per card, and we can typically get 2 cards in a server. So in a maximum environment, you get about 128 users on a server with M10s. And that aligns really well with Citrix and VMware that typically, sort of 100-ish users per server in more of a traditional VDI environment. And because the density is so high, the cost per user in VDI is about $5 to $6 per month per user. And that's everything. That's the software, the cards, the whole solution is about another $5 to $6 per month per user to add graphics. So when it's positioned like that, customers are very keen to move ahead with it. And obviously, with Windows 10, it's more of a necessity than an option. The M6 is our Blade solution. Huge. Virtualization is huge on Blades, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are already selling that. So the M6 is our Blade solution. Fits in all the big brands, Cisco, Dell, HP, and so on. And then the M60 on the right-hand side, that was the first of the M series that we launched about a year or so ago now. Our previous range was the K series. We had a K1 and a K2. The K stood for Kepler. The new generation is Maxwell, hence the M numbers and letters here. And the M60 is designed for the real high-end graphics use cases. So you'll see that in the middle there, we put max vGPU instances is 32. We do have people using 32 users on M60, but we also have people using just 1 or 2 users on an M60. So for those real high-end applications like Petrel and even Siemens NX, then it's quite popular to just have 1 or 2 users per card. But when you consider that the alternative is a $15,000 workstation, again, it does present tremendous value. And of course, when that user isn't using it, somebody else can, and you get better efficiencies across sharing. So we feel we've got a really complete range. We've got tremendous traction now in the market. I'm sure a lot of you out there have already been selling these products, and thank you if you have for your business. I do think there's so much more to come and that we can do. And if you just go to the next slide, Adam, please. Then here are our resources. So if you need any more information, please just go to nvidia.com/grid. And there you'll find all sorts of resources. You'll find white papers, app guides, deployment guides, and so on. I'd say the app guides and deployment guides are probably the most popular resources we do because that tells you, if you're looking to deploy something like AutoCAD, for example, there's a whole application on how you would do it, how many users you could expect, what sort of cards we recommend, and so on. I still recommend that you bring in some specialist consulting services really to round it out, and that's why IMS CAD are one of our preferred partners. So it's really part of that whole solution. That there is a lot to it, but we're constantly adding more and more resources, and we've had just an amazing year on Grid this year, and our business is currently doubling year on year, and I think actually it could even accelerate faster than that. Some of that is around what we're doing with cloud now. Adam touched on it, but Microsoft Azure, for example, have now rolled out their new data centers with Nvidia graphics cards in. So that's just huge. The fact that they've done that, and it's just such a great endorsement for where the market's going around GPUs. And all the other big ISPs are talking to us as well. So lots of opportunity everywhere, but it does need a little bit of specialist knowledge. I mean, virtualization does in general, but when you start adding graphics, it's not just about adding a card. It's about looking at the whole solution and making sure it's positioned correctly. So hopefully that was helpful. Please do get in touch either through Adam or just come onto our website. We would love to talk to you more in depth about what we can do around partnerships and products, and I look forward to working with you. So thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Richard. That's great. Excellent. Appreciate your time there.
No problem.
And I think, guys, I will just say and echo what Richard said. I mean, we've been working with Nvidia obviously since the beginning and the business definitely is growing significantly, and the opportunities are out there, guys. It's just a case of let's not be put off when it's there's a team of architects you have to deal with in your virtualization solution for a customer, or a team of designers in a manufacturing company. Don't be put off by the apps, because this is what IMS-CAD do, and this is really where we sit in and bring that layer of consulting to just smooth it out and give you the confidence to go in strong and do a great solution for the customer. And now just for balance, and I spoke to Richard about this before, and he's obviously fine with it, but ultimately, Nvidia are by far the market leaders. We know that. They are absolutely fantastic. They've got a great solution. But there are other options out there that are coming, and just to mention it, because IMS-CAD are independent, and we have to be that way. And we work closely with Intel, and Intel solution is quite an interesting solution how they've done it. So they've actually put a GPU on a CPU. So on the same silicon, they've embedded a GPU. Now I can tell you that last year we did quite a lot of work with Intel on their solution, and I've got to say it didn't quite cut it. Okay. Especially with CAD workflows. We had a number of customers in the US that did side-by-side tests or POCs with Nvidia Grid and Intel's Broadwell GPU E3 range, which is their one last year. And it was okay, it worked well, it was pretty snappy performance-wise, but just lacked that graphical sharpness, which of course you get from Nvidia without a doubt. So, it just fell down a bit there. So every customer went Grid, right? So, and that is actually what happens, right? So, but what's happening at Intel at the moment is they're coming with some other solutions, that a newer generation Skylake processor, which apparently is a 20 to 30% boost on graphics. So now I've seen it in action. It does look a great solution, but like the proof is in the pudding. It's all about users, right? It's all about user experience. Okay, it doesn't really matter about the hardware so much from our perspective at IMS-CAD. It's actually about getting the best solution for the customer. But Intel, they've got this solution. They're taking it a bit more seriously now. They're going to do some marketing early Q1 next year around graphics, and that's a big step forward for them. And the interesting thing about it is you don't need a hypervisor. So it's not a virtual, say, solution. It's a hardware-based solution, effectively like a bare metal delivery. You can effectively do like a Zen desktop VDI solution without a hypervisor. So you get, I would say a hypervisor, you're looking at 10 to 20% performance degradation, I would say, just having a hypervisor. But effectively, without the hypervisor on a bare metal environment, there is a real boost. So that's something that's in their favor, of course. But, I don't care really how far it goes. I just can't see how they can get a bigger GPU on a CPU. So I think they're always going to be limited. And I think they realise that, but I think they see it. It's very much in the mid to lower market. So effectively, where the M10 from Nvidia is going to play, that's kind of where they're focusing it. And there's obviously the other issue with Intel is it's quite boutique, let's say. So you might have heard of a server called an HP Moonshot. It's a 4U chassis that holds 45 CPUs, nodes in a 4U box, which is pretty impressive. And for 45 of these Skylake pro graphics CPUs. So effectively, it's a mini workstation in a data center in a 4U box. So it's obviously a really good kind of economical and effective way of doing it. But as I said, it's all about performance, right? And I can vouch that Nvidia, if you get Nvidia's products are fantastic, they really deliver. But as Richard alluded to, and I'll tell you, is it's not just about the grid card; it's about the whole environment, like you all know with VDI. It's an end-to-end infrastructure solution. So you have to make sure that's all right. So effectively, also they're bringing out. We've just built a cloud demo environment for this solution in the US in a cloud provider called PhoenixNAP, and that's all kicking off. That'll be live in January. So for you guys out there, Citrix Partners, it's all available to you guys to use it. We actually offer a white label service for demos, and what I mean by a demo, I don't mean you go on, you look at an app, you look at AutoCAD, you try it out, use it, move the mouse around, put it down. It's actually a meaningful demo with your own data sets as an end user, your own users and your own apps. So, we've got a selection of the main ISV apps loaded up onto that environment, and that whole demo environment is available to anyone that's on this call and anyone that actually asks for it from our perspective. So, it's a serious opportunity to then bring it to your customers and go, you know what, do you actually want to try it with your own data and actually see this in action? And I have to say we do the same with Grid and AMD. So we've got a three-way kind of demo environment. So with AMD, just quickly, I'm going to touch on AMD solutions. So hardware-based solutions. So it's a bit different to Grid. It's a hardware-based. So it's effectively got 16 GPUs effectively in a card, and then they've got a double width card which is 32. So they will tell you obviously it's a lot simpler. It's no virtual profiles, one driver, and obviously it's probably a little bit cheaper than Grid, but it's still only based on VMware, so it's only certified with VMware, so it's limited in that respect. Citrix is coming soon, January I believe for Zen Desktop, and Zen Server for around May time. So next year they'll have the Citrix certification. So, but just to mention it, obviously, for the sake of balance, there are other solutions out there as well. But as I said, we've built our business on Nvidia. It's a great solution, and it will really deliver with these graphical apps. It's really the number one, and will be for a long time. I'm absolutely certain of that. So I want to touch on actually, what this call is all about, really. Apart from talking about the market and talking about how it's growing, and obviously who the main protagonists are in the space, where IMS CAD fit and the partnership opportunity we offer. I mean, a little bit like Nvidia offer a partner solution to be able to sell the cars, and so we don't sell hardware. We're just a services business, so it's made that very clear. We're not here to tread on your toes. We don't sell Citrix licensing. We don't sell VMware licensing. We don't sell servers, right? But we've probably, I think Richard would vouch this, but we've probably sold more Grid cards than anyone else out there, but never actually done the deal, if you know what I mean. So we've kind of like an enabler to the sale. So with our sort of consulting services, we would actually deliver the solution for a Citrix partner that maybe haven't had the experience with these type of applications. So we're there to complement your sales process. So it's really important that's made clear. We're not we're just as it says at the bottom there, we do as little or as much as you need from us. Right from the initial really, good quality demo environment, we can offer you that straight away, no problem. We do sometimes charge for demos if customers want, a little bit more than, one or two apps, and, want it for longer than a week and that sort of thing. So, but, generally it's a free service. We have a simple sign up, a very simple sort of services agreement between us. We work on a day rate, you'll have a dedicated partner manager that will help you, because it's all about supporting you through the sales process more than anything, because without getting that right, you're not going to get the solution delivered properly, and it's going to be effectively a road crash from the end, because it's so important you get this right at the start of these type of deployments. And I'm sure some of you have done these deployments, I've got no doubt, and I'm sure some of you have done them very successfully. But there's a lot of gotchas out there in this type of delivery. And it's not, I say it's all about the apps, but it is all about the apps. But actually, to my mind, it's all about the users, all right? Because they're a tough crowd, these CAD users and these designers. They love their workstations, believe me, all right? So, you might have had the same experience as that. We've got a lot of ways of dealing with that, of course, at IMS CAD as part of our service. But, it's important to say that. And what we want to do with you guys, obviously, build a bit of a model with you for the next 12 months. Let's do some webinars, let's do maybe some events in the US where we can support you. We're there to enable the sale, right? So this is what it's all about. As I said, don't shy away from an oil and gas customer because, oh my God, we've got to do all these GPUs and these apps we don't understand and everything else. This is what we're there for. And we, not only do we only sell services to you, or through you, I should say, we give you a 50% rebate on it if you sign up as a marketing partner. So, there is actually a commission-based type of environment for you there from us. So, there's another reason to use it. Pre-sales is so important, as I said. We're there on the phone any time with any customer, just at the early stages. We'll help you get the deal done because that's what it's all about. An hour phone call with a customer, we can effectively scope out that solution for you, and make sure there's no major mistakes made in the infrastructure and in the solution delivery. So it's really important that that's made clear. And as I said, we're not there to tread on your toes, right? We're there as a complementary service to help get the deals done and the services delivered. And of course, it sort of leads on to this slide. Focus on your core offerings, right? We're not expecting you to be GPU and CAD applications and experts, in a short period of time. And it's taken us 6 years focusing on it 100% of the time. And that is, that experience cannot be learned, unfortunately. So we take the stress away from this, and this is what it's all about, guys. We want to be there just to support you, right through, and make sure that there's no mistakes made, and this is sort of thing. And at the same time, you're going to learn as we go, right? So we're very open. We're not hiding anything. We'll tell you how things are delivered. What we have realised, though, in this space, is that not one delivery is the same. And it sounds weird, but and you guys are probably used to it with normal VDI solutions, but you deal with so many different environments, right? So, and it's just the way it's been. So we've never been afraid of being very open about what we suggest and what we offer to your customers. But obviously, at the same time, we're always there with you on one of these kind of deliveries that you need to do. So consulting, POCs, even if you just wanted to hand us the deal to deliver it, okay, we'll deliver it for you. You sell all the licensing, you sell all the hardware, you sell all the services, services through you. We can do the whole thing if you want. It's absolutely fine. We do that a lot with many partners we work with all over the world. So the cloud transition piece is important. I think I'm seeing a lot more of that. People can't just go to the cloud. It's actually quite a transition you have to go through, particularly if you're dealing with graphical applications. So, as Richard alluded to, there's a number of major cloud providers with Nvidia Grid in their environment. So you've got all these options now for customers if they want to do the cloud, which is great. It's just another layer of opportunity really for everyone. It's all about support, of course, is key. We've got 48 staff, just so you know, IMS CAD, and growing, I would say. So it's a stressful environment, but nonetheless, and that's just doing GPU deliveries, right, globally. And that's all we do. So, we've got staff here that will support you. We've got a white label US demo server environment coming up in January as well, with Grid cards. We're calling it POC in a week. Okay, so if you imagine what's been happening in the past, either Nvidia have to ship cards out, or OEMs have to ship servers, or customers have to buy servers, or whatever they do to do a test or do a POC of this type of technology. Now you don't have to do that. You've got the cloud there. Let's use it. Let's utilize it. So at IMS CAD, what we've done is we've built an environment out in the US, in Dallas actually, to service the US, where we've got the Grid environment. And then what we do, we've got like the Autodesk suite of service software and many others as well. But effectively, we can put any app up there and give the customer a real experience. We do charge for the service, but we can actually white label it to your business if you want to. So you can make it your own demo platform. Because what we don't want is there's no point having 150 demo platforms out there. It just doesn't make sense. So what we're trying to do at IMS CAD is actually cover that off. So, actually you can come to us, know you're going to get a very good demo that's built properly, that you'll also get a level of consulting off the back of it that will help you get the deal done. And that's really where we sit. So, that's an important thing, because POC in a week is a true thing. It's about testing and validating their technology for the specific company requirement. And, we can do that in a week, literally, with their own data and their own users. So it's quite a powerful message, because it just speeds up the whole sales cycle, right? So not just for Nvidia, but for everyone else and you guys out there selling the solution. So that is a serious offering that we offer now. So just to summarize, we're nearly there. We're just going to finish off with a summary here, and obviously we've spoken, and thank you to Richard for coming on, of course, about Nvidia Grid and how their solutions have really evolved and really deliver now. Of course, Intel are out there, over the next year or so, going to be putting a lot of effort into it, I think, as well. AMD, of course, as well, are out there, and they have a solid solution. It's all about working with specialists. We're the specialists in this. why try and reinvent the wheel? Okay, do what you're good at. Let us come in and help you with certain ones that maybe have caused problems in the past, or you're worried about the application mix and how to put it together. It's just it should be hopefully a no-brainer for you, because it's all about user performance. As I said, these CAD users are a tough crowd. You need to know how to deal with these guys. And at IMS CAD, we're very experienced in that, and we have a number of ways we go about and how we test and how we get feedback from the users that kind of gets things done, right? Because it's about getting that rollout, not just doing a POC, but getting the deployment. And of course, POC in a week for all solutions. So that's Grid, Nvidia Grid, AMD, and Intel. So we've got the three-way kind of GPU offering. But we're ready to work with you guys now, and we'd love you to reach out to us and make contact, and we can talk more. If you want to set up for a demo, we've got a demo access point there on our website. We really are at the end now. I want to thank you all for listening, and we're going to happily do some questions now, which is always a good thing to do at the end. If you want to ping me, you can there. We'll have a look at our website. It's been a pleasure presenting to you. So what we're going to do is have a look if there's any questions. I'm just going to have a look now. Okay, so I've got a few here. Let's just have a look at what's relevant. So yeah, I've got one here. So yeah, we give you 15% commission on all our services. So someone asked that. So just to be clear, we're a services business, okay? So you get a kickback off using us, as well as getting the deal done. Yeah, I mean, I know this is a Citrix webinar, and someone's asked about VMware, of course, and we're fully capable with doing VMware. We've done a number of deployments already with Grid, so VMware's a definite player here. Is there an economical? That's an interesting question. So, is there an economical number of CAD seats to do a project? Yeah, well, there's no real rules here for that. I mean, it's certainly one that's, it's a difficult one, because actually what we'd say is actually if you've got under 10 users, really, unless you're doing very high-end apps, this isn't going to work for you. But generally, CAD seats, obviously as Richard explained, with the M60, for example, we get normally about 32 VDI sessions on one card. So you can have, there's servers that can hold 3-4 cards. I wouldn't actually advise that you do that, but obviously we normally would go two cards in a, say, a DL380, for example, or an R730, and do a kind of potentially 64 users on one server with CAD, which is pretty powerful. But I think the key thing to point out is that actually the customers, so the end user businesses that have the CAD users and the designers, they're not going to throw away their workstations that easy. And I think they tend to look at this as a complementary solution, whether it's cloud or on-premise, but as a remote access collaboration tool. And as I mentioned earlier, IP security for projects is key, and this is what it can give you. So I've also had another question here. There's quite a few now, so just bear with me, guys. So it says, someone saying about, do you offer professional services CSPs deploy this in their cloud-hosted environment? Absolutely. Whatever it is, anything with a GPU, think of IMS CAD. So quite effectively, we will do the deployment. We can help you do the deployment. And that's really important. And, whether it's cloud, whether it's on-premise, there's so many ways of doing this now. But the job is still the same. The kind of professional services piece is so important with any deployment, because there's always pitfalls. It just doesn't work out the box, right? So you have to do a certain amount of tweaking and understanding of the environment, and this is the key piece. So that's really something that's not a problem for us. So what's the price range? Okay, so this is a bit of a moving target, the question, this one, but what do you find the price range to be per VDI to the customer? That's a good question. So if we look at what I just said about the M60, for example, that's quite powerful, right? Versus what, I mean, you've got to accept the server's going to be with the right specification, with the right processors, with the right storage. You're going to be talking $50,000 sort of area, to do, 32 plus users of using a CAD environment. So, there is a significant cost to setting up, but once that's done, you've got that in place, and there's none of this kind of, because what tends to happen with workstation environments is they refresh the hardware either 2, 3 years, maybe 4 years at best. But obviously with servers, it tends to go on a bit longer than that. And this is the other power of the cloud. Really, is not everyone wants to use the cloud right now, but of course, it's still something that actually is key, and can be used and used for specific reasons. So. Yeah, I'll just
and
through the...
Adam, it's Richard here. Sorry to butt in. Yeah, no, I was just going to add to that as well, because the way we always think about it is that the price of grid should be the same or less than a workstation. So if you're aiming at the workstation market, it shouldn't be any more expensive than a workstation. In most cases, less. And then at the PC end, you're adding graphics to virtualization, so there is an additional cost there of. We work it out about $5 or $6 per month per user, depending on the app and so on. But also, in some cases, that can pay for itself, because if you can get more users on a server because of graphics, then actually it means less servers. So although you might be paying $5 or $6 extra for the graphics capability, you can take some of the server cost out. So, example recently was somebody who wanted to do video. And before they tried to do video, they were getting about 100 users per server. Once they put video on, the density dropped to 50 users per server. So then they added the graphics card back in, the density went up again. Not quite to 100, but substantially more than 50. And therefore, even though they paid obviously for the graphics card, it did sort of net itself out. So in reality, it's normally a little bit extra, but again, with the extra performance and user experience, it's reasonably straightforward.
Richard, while you're on, actually, there's a question we could probably both answer, but I'm going to put it to you if you don't mind. So, what are the main issues encountered with these type of deployments? Right. So obviously that's very much kind of, I guess, directed at Nvidia grid deployments.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to hear your take on that.
Yeah, I think, well, at the top end, these are people who have never virtualized before, typically, because they're using a workstation. It's one user for one machine, so they've never used it. They've never needed virtualization before. So for those people, the sales cycle can be quite long, because first of all, they've got to get the virtualization in, and then they've got to put the graphics in, and they've got to test it with users, and the users got to verify that the user experience is the same or better, and which in most cases it is. So I'd say the biggest challenge is the sales cycle. It takes a while for those deals to come off. But having said that, we're now 3.5 years into selling grids, and now we've got tremendous momentum. And we used to see sales cycles of sort of 12 months, and now it's more like 2 to 3 months, because it's a much more proven solution now. So I'd say that is it. And then, of course, just tweaking apps. We have people who say, well, you said we could get 32 users per server, and we're only getting 8. And then it turns out that they just haven't tuned the thing properly, or they haven't upgraded the app, or lots of other things. And so that, I think, needs a lot of, that's where the help comes in, and getting that right. And then at the low end is the argument about CPU versus GPU. Do we really need GPUs, or can we make this stuff work with CPUs? And in some cases, you can make it work with CPUs, but it goes back to the density thing again. You're going to need a lot more servers if you're just going to run CPU. And then, as say with Windows 10 coming out, it's only going to get a worse experience. So, a lot of people are seeing GPUs as sort of future-proofing, and a way of making sure that these VDI deployments are successful, and they get the maximum potential rollout, and the projects don't stall halfway through.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that's right, and we see it quite a bit, and obviously, I think you find that it's never Nvidia have a fantastic product, right? Intel have great processors, Generally, OEMs have good servers that are built well. And actually, everything's kind of in place, but then you put the software layer on, and then you put the apps on. It doesn't quite do what it said on the tin, and it isn't actually anyone's fault. It's just these type of, it's complex. And as I said to you earlier, with our deployments, we've done hundreds of deployments, and not one has been the same. And not to say that should be a barrier. It's just you have to accept there's a certain level of, support you're going to need if you haven't done this before. And that's, obviously where we fit in. But I think, Richard, you concur with that, the sort of understanding the apps and understanding what the reality you can get from your infrastructure, because it's all about infrastructure ultimately. It will determine what you get, whether it's density or performance or whatever you need.
Yeah, and the nice thing is now, going back 3 years, people were talking about 30, 40, 50 users, and that was a typical sort of use case. Now they're talking about 10,000, 20,000 users, and as these things get bigger and bigger, it's even more important to build the foundation right, or else they'll never scale out. And that's, so obviously that's part of the cloud story, and that, getting that scale. But we're starting to see, we did a deployment just a couple of months ago for a very large education establishment, and that was 15,000 users. So wall to wall, it wasn't, for some users, they weren't even sure if they needed graphics today, but they just decided it was so important that they would roll it out to everybody. And with the size of these deployments now, I'd say that is probably one of the biggest challenges, is just making sure it's right from the start, so the thing will build out and scale properly.
I mean, to a lesser extent, it gets back to what I was saying earlier about, get us involved early in the engagement, right? Because, if you're not experts at this, and not everyone is, right? And we know that because I don't know many other companies that do what we do. So I'm certain that there isn't, there's obviously a lack of experience out there still. And I think it's as I said, an hour on the phone with a customer, we can really kind of scope out your deal for you. I've got a number of guys here that could do that for you. So it's just that kind of, just take the stress away from it, right? Don't try and deal with it. I don't know how many customers we've had come to us for troubleshooting issues where they get sold a server, it's completely spec'd wrong for the job. It's got the Nvidia grid card in, but it's nothing to do with Nvidia grid. It's just they haven't got the right storage environment, they haven't got enough RAM, the wrong processor for the applications. It's quite unbelievable how often it happens, and it's about taking away these mistakes, because I know Nvidia would appreciate it, sell more cards, and I know certainly we obviously see that as a major area of misinformation, I suppose, and people try it and think they can do it, and it just doesn't work that way. You just need to know from the start what you're doing and have a clear project plan in place, because if you do that, you've got a good chance of success. If you don't do that, you've probably got no chance of success. So I think on that note, guys, I think we've top of the hour now. Thank you for your questions, guys. We had quite a few. I didn't get through everyone, but I'll try and respond to everybody in due course. But I want to thank Richard for coming on. Thanks, Richard. Much appreciated.
No problem. Thank you.
And obviously to everyone else on the call, thanks a lot. This will be recorded, of course, so we'll be sending out, Citrix will be sending out a link to this. And of course, reach out if you want to talk more, and we're happy to talk to you. And thanks again, and wish you all well. Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.